guys, this is another requested video for using hot pinks in different looks. So firstly, what I'm going to start off with is my NYX Jumbo Pencil in Milk, which is essentially just a white shade stick, and I'm going to apply this all over the entire lid and blend that out using my ring finger. First color that we're going with is the matte white on my 88 matte palette. Any matte white will just using a small eyeshadow brush to apply this along the inner corner of the eye. This is almost a one brush eyeshadow look, if you will. So once I finish loading up the inner corner, I'm just going to take whatever I have left on my brush and blend it up towards the brow bone, just like that. Okay, so the second color that I'm going to use, using that same brush, I've just cleaned it off, is in the orange row. That's a row, the column with the oranges and the reds. I am going with the second shadow down, which is this sort of a peachy orangish kind of color here. Loading that up on my brush, and right where we finished placing our white, I'm just going to pat this onto the lid. Overlapping the white just a little bit. And we want to pat our colors on first because we really want them to stick to that primer that we've had there. So I'm just going about halfway, a little less than halfway. And then the other color that I'm going in with is an eyeshadow by Sasha Cosmetics. Max Paradisco, I think it's called, is very similar to this. This eyeshadow is called Zippy, and it's a pretty peachy sort of golden color, slightly darker than the peach that I have on my lid already. And I'm just loading the same brush up and patting this onto the lid. None of these colors are going past the crease, and again, just like I did with the white, I'm just overlapping the previous color just slightly so that we are able to get a little bit of a blend going on between these two colors. Alright, so once I've gotten to about 3/4 of the way, I'm going to stop. And I'm going in with, this is Ambrosia Cosmetics Lost Dust in Love, and it's a very reddish pink, a very hot pink with a lot of red undertone to it. So I'm picking up that very sparingly on my brush because these are quite pigmented. So you want to start with a little bit of color at first and build your way up. And I'm popping this along the edge here, but I'm not quite taking it just to the outer edges yet. So it's like this. So I still have a little bit of a space where my outer V is supposed to be. I'm just concentrating on applying just a little bit over the what do you call this? Over the Zippy, which is the peach that we've had on the middle lid. Adding it on and kind of overlapping again to facilitate with blending of these colors. And this is where I would start to take it up just slightly into my crease, not very much. And then what I'm going to do, because I want the outer edge, I want to keep this look kind of light and airy. I don't want to use anything with black or very smoky. Even though we're doing a lot of bright color, I'm trying to keep it from being too dark, which is very unlike me, but I'm trying. Going back into my 88 palette, in the same row that we have all of the oranges and the reds, I'm taking the second to last red from the bottom. That's this one right here. And I'm just dipping the tip of my brush into that red. And with that, I'm picking up just a little bit of the Love Lust Dust once again on the tip. So I am creating more of a red, an even more red toned pink. That's just a shade deeper than the Love by itself. So this is where I would take this and apply this into the outer edge of my crease and connect. So this is where I would sort of pat and do a little bit of blending and making sure that my edges are pretty straight. And a good way to sort of marry all of these colors together is going back in with a little bit more of the zippy and sort of patting over the hot pink. You don't want to do too much swiping because these colors are a bit, well, with the exception of the Love Lust Dust, they are more or less matte colors, so they are a bit harder to blend. And by tapping ever so lightly, you kind of get a little bit of a blend going on here. So keep working at it until you get it blended the way that you are pleased with. And then what I'm going to do is take a nice fluffy crease brush and blend out the topmost edge of that pink, that top line that we have there. Y'all hearing what I'm listening to? 5 stars for Backstreet Boys. So once we've done with that, I'm going in with the same palette, the same 88 palette, and this is the row with the hot pink, the entire row, column of pink. That's this one right here, and I'm taking the second one down. That's this one right here, on that blending brush, just along the tip, and I'm going to the top of, you don't want very much on that brush, so that's why I'm knocking off the excess. And I'm going just to the top, the very top of that hot pink edge there. I'm just sort of blending that out because we want a nice gradation. We are going to be putting a bit of white shadow up there. I know a lot of you have, so what I've done is I've gone in with a little bit of white matte eyeshadow, and I'm bringing it down onto that pink to even further soften off the edge. And this was placed right up underneath the brow bone, and you can add more as you go along as you need to be blended. Now I'm going on to lining, and I'm just using a Coastal Scents gel liner in black, and a very thin liner brush. And I'm going to be lining the entire lash line using this black liner, and I'm taking it out to a very slight, not necessarily a wing, but I'm extending it just a little bit. And you always see me do this, and I explained to you guys already that the reason why I do this is it elongates the eyes and it lifts the eyes up, so it doesn't have you tired or sleepy looking. So just loading up my brush, I'm going to keep it as thin as possible and as close to the lash line as I can. Okay, so apparently my camera cut off again without me knowing. What I did after finishing the lining of the eyes is I went in using a very small smudge brush and my Milk Jumbo pencil and just lined very lightly underneath the lower lash line. Because we are using no black liner on the waterline today, we're actually using white. I really want the lower lash line to pop with some color. So what I've done is I went into those colors that I've used on the lid, which is the first lighter peach shade. I went in just along the inner part here. The zippy, which was the Sasha's peach, I put a little bit on the middle part here, and now I'm going to be taking a little bit of the Love Lust Dust, which is the pink that we, the reddish pink that we used along the outer edge of the eye. And just continue that line. Kind of give it a little bit of a blend where they meet. So, and then I'm going to use the same brush, small little smudge brush, just clean it off really well and pick up yet a little bit more, or you can use a white liner if you have it. I'm just going to pick up a little bit more of this NYX jumbo pencil and line my lower lash line using this brush. And then what I'm going to do for a little bit of extra definition, now you can choose to skip this step if you don't have a brush as thin as this, but I'm using whatever's left on this brush from lining my eyes earlier, and I'm going directly into my lashes. Just about a quarter of the way in from the edge. You can barely see that there, but it does give a little bit of definition. Hopefully you can tell. And that's about it for the eye makeup. I'm just going to be adding my mascara, which is my Revlon's Grow Lashes. You don't want to skip this step, especially on the lower lash line, simply because we don't have any dark liner down there kind of defining the lower lash line. So by applying mascara to the lower lashes, it's really going to make them stand out. What I did is I actually went in with two different blushes. Actually one blush. This is Sasha's Next to Natural, which is a very natural matte almost orange type neutral color. Picked it up on a very small blush brush, and I've used this almost as a contour. Done also is actually gone in using the Zippy, which is the eyeshadow that we've used on the lid. I've actually gone in and used it as a little bit of blush. So just tipping the tip of my blush brush into that. There's no rule that says that you have to use eyeshadow as eyeshadow only. And I've applied this just to the apples of the cheeks and blended it backwards. And this blush, this eyeshadow is actually a really gorgeous golden peachy sort of a color, so it works perfectly with this look as a blush. And then what I did is I went in with my e.l.f. Where is it? My e.l.f. bronzer, and this is in warm. This is optional, of course. Warm looks like this. And I blended this peachy type color in the corner here, and then this golden color together, and used it as a highlight at the tops of my cheeks, just to sort of blend that that peachy color down just a little bit, of course down your nose, forehead, and on the chin. Okay, so for my lips, what I'm going to use, I'm not using any liner. This is an e.l.f. lip gloss, and it's in Malt Shake. This is it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this and that is it for the look. I hope that you guys like it.